After Christmas we had some leftover turkey. So we're going to be making a pot of turkey stew and dumplings with the leftovers from Christmas. You can put whatever you like into your stew, but what we're doing is we're going to be boiling the bones with some of the meat on it, and we're putting in celery, carrots, and potatoes. But first you have to boil the bones and the meat. We have some chicken stock here too that we're going to put in. But if you don't have to use chicken stock. If you've got lots of bones that have some meat on them, that adds a lot of nice flavor to your soup. And you don't actually have to use stock. It's up to you though. In the meantime, while that is boiling, I'm going to peel the potatoes and carrots and slice everything up so it's ready to go in with the turkey meat. Carrots first, even though the potatoes will take longest to cook out of anything. Once the water starts boiling over there, and you can put the potatoes in once they're peeled. The smaller you cut up the potatoes, the quicker they'll cook.
And also, the bigger the element, the more it'll cook. I had it on the small one and I changed it to the big one. And those are ready to go in?
Yep.
Still isn't boiling, so we're getting it to boil, and then we're going to turn the element down. Chop and just pull them away. See how they go like that? So I don't get them in the stew. And once there's enough, I'll just pull them. We put too much in this little pot, so we're going to have to divide it up into another pot.
I'm going to put some turkey into both of the pots now and add a little bit of stock and then start making dumplings.
Do you leave the bones right in there now, or do you take them out?
You can leave them in or take them out. It's up to you. It's a personal preference, whatever you want to do.
1 cup of chicken broth.
I'm going to check and see how the potatoes and carrots are coming along now to see if they're done so that I can start. Oh yeah, they're done. I always check, poke them with a fork to make sure that the fork goes all the way through. And that means that they're done. The celery will be done because it doesn't take nearly as long as the rest of the stuff does to cook. And the flour from the dumplings will thicken the soup. Or stew, whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it turkey soup, turkey stew, but I'm going to begin the process of making the dumplings. This is my old cookbook from high school. It's called Recipes for Young Adults. I'm not sure whether the page numbers would be the same, but there's a recipe for dumplings on page 41, and that's what I usually follow. And instead of using butter, I'll use margarine, and instead of using water, I use milk. And I'm sure people with celiac disease will switch out the all-purpose flour for something that is celiac disease friendly. Okay, you put in a cup of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder. That's about 2. 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of butter or margarine. I think I'm gonna melt it and then put it in. slowly add the milk. And I think what we'll do is we'll just put, you can turn that one right off if you want to. We'll just put this into the big one. My mom always says don't overmix them or else they'll be tough. Okay, now they're ready to go in. Are you ready? I'll make them smaller too. And now you put the lid on and you leave it on for 10 minutes.
And the dumplings are in the big pot, and the small pot has no dumplings.
And we're going to thicken it. And if this amount isn't enough to thicken it up the way you like it, you can add more thick flour and just use flour and water if you don't have chicken stock. Check the dumplings and see if they're done. See, nice and fluffy in there. Do you see? Not doughy. This one is much thicker.